and welcome to the All 12 Signs video series for the Cancer full moon. This is happening on the 26th or 27th of December, depending on where you live. I will be reading for Scorpio and Libra in this video. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and I channel energies through my body. As you can see, my hands are moving around right now. This is independent of my conscious thought, drawing in energies from different dimensions to help us heal, help us clear stuck energy, and open up portals to source to get us more in alignment with our soul's frequency. For those of you who haven't caught it already, regulars and new viewers alike, I've recently had an upgrade in my channeling. It happened a couple of days before the Sagittarius new moon, whereas the physical actions I've been doing for about 2.5 years now, and that's a form of light language, and then the vocal side got activated, and so that got activated not that long ago. I'm still integrating with it. Sometimes words come into my head that are translations of what's being communicated, other times not. Again, it is a form of light language, so it's helping activate certain codes within you, helping clear blockages, and just generally bring about a sense of healing as well. So that's all going on. So do bear with me while that's happening and what's going on, and just know that even if you're not consciously aware of what's going on, it's still affecting you on the unconscious level in a way that's in alignment with your higher self and your soul's frequency. Right. For those of you who know your time of birth, I really recommend you check out the sign that falls in the first house. This is where your rising sign is. This is called where the Ascendant is. And all the signs will be as if they're in the first house. So the astrology will link in closest with that. However, this does not invalidate you looking at any other part of your chart, perhaps your sun or your moon, because we're dealing with a lunation here. Just look to wherever that sign falls in your natal chart, look to the house that it's in and the themes of that house, and apply those themes to the messages that come through. Right, I'm keeping this introduction short and sweet, and I'm going to kick off with Scorpio. Scorpio rising. How you doing, Scorpio? For those of you tapping into the Scorpio energy and it doesn't fall in your first house, look to the house that it does fall in your natal chart. Look to the themes of that house and apply those themes to the messages that come through. It's as if that Scorpio energy, all the connotations of your natal chart, astrological points, celestial bodies, themes of house, all of that information has now moved to the first house. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Right, okay, so this is the Cancer full moon reading. I am pulling cards for 3 different piles. The first pile is the energy leading up to this full moon, and this is kind of encompassing what you sort of, the journey that you've been on since the Cancer new moon that happened in Cancer season. So I work with 6-month cycles, and so this is a reflection of those last 6 months of what you've been incorporating in the Cancer area of your life. So the second pile is the energy of the moon itself. As I said, I work with 6-month cycles, and I see lunations as portals, energy portals, downloads, activation codes. And so even if you're watching this after the event, the energy of pile number 2 is what's being seeded in your vessel at the time of the full moon that will then unfold over 6 months. Even though it's a completion, there's an element of completion with full moons. With that completion, we then get an activation and a level up that then unfolds over the next 6 months. So that's pile 2. And this is all based on sort of the collective message that came through with the moon itself. I've done a collective reading for that where I broke down the astrology in way more detail, and all of that energy of what the astrology represents and the channeled messages that come through in relation to that are sort of the baseline for pile 2, which will then have the tarot on top that makes it more specific to you Scorpio. And so if you want a more detailed understanding of what that astrology is about, do go check out the collective reading. This is where a lot more channeled messages come through. I pulled collective tarot. It was a beautiful reading. It was the first main transit series that I've done with light language, so that was really interesting and very playful. But the overall sensations that I was feeling in my body and while I was channeling was this sense of softness, this sense of nourishment, but also strength, because we've got that sun over in Capricorn, and this is a really empowering legacy moon. So that's already live, so you can go check that out. It's probably one of my shortest collective readings. They're my favorite. I get esoteric. I talk about the soul's journey, and so that's available to sort of understand what's the baseline for pile 2. So this is the energy that's being downloaded into your vessel at the time. The cards also could represent things that are going on for you around the full moon. And if that does pop into my head, I will say it, but it's usually just about the energy and what that's the download that will then unfold. The third pile in the final pile is how all this energy is going to manifest moving forward. So those are the piles. That's what's going on. All the cards will come out, and then at the end, the energies will move them around and we'll put them into the 3 piles. So it's always interesting to see how that works out. And so we're dealing with a full moon here. And before I say that, though, actually, regardless of whether Scorpio is your rising sign or not, Scorpio and Cancer, you're both water elements. So you're in the same team. And this means that it's trining your Scorpio energy, this moon. And so a trine is an aspect of Jupiter, very inspirational, can bring about a lot of wisdom, a lot of depth, a lot of cohesion, a bringing together and then expanding. Jupiter likes to, the aspect of a trine provides, as I said, that wisdom, that sense of faith, and with that a real confidence and expansion of abundance, opportunities and luck. And it's a very free-flowing, soft, inspirational energy. You've got the yin thing in yin baseline in common, the water element in common, but the modalities are different. So this is where we get the wisdom, because we're covering it. A lot of ground is already covered. So then you're sort of figuring out the differences between fixed and cardinal energy. And so getting those to play together and finding the depth of understanding, the bringing together of different ideas based on the same foundations. So very supportive moon showing up for you, Scorpio. And also the sun is sextiling your energy. So again, that's an aspect of Venus. So we've got an aspect of Jupiter, an aspect of Venus, and both of these are the benefic planets. They are soft aspects. They don't involve challenges in the same way that an opposition or a square may do. And so a sextile wants to bring connection, harmony, love, appreciation, value, a sense of creativity. And they've got the baseline yin in common, but different elements, different modalities. And so this is with that baseline, that means that there's a sense of familiarity and a sense of connection. That means you can then play and get creative with those other elements and those other modalities. So very supportive moon for you, Scorpio. In general, wherever that Scorpio energy is in your chart. Now let's talk about the full moon itself. So I see 3 main themes show up for full moons. And sometimes one thing will turn up, sometimes all 3 things will turn up, or nothing at all, right? Or other themes. But these are the ones that I see repeat the most. If you've got any in your own life that you've experienced and you keep seeing happen, do put it down in the comments box. It'd be lovely to hear other people's experiences. So the first one is trigger time. So traditionally around the time of the full moon, police stations, schools, hospitals, the collective at large get a bit rowdy, or start lots of energy, or very drained, or just howling at the moon, that sort of thing. And so we've got this trigger time, and this is because the full light of the sun, our vision, our clarity, our animation, our sense of purpose and will, and clarity of the conscious mind. That light is covering the whole of the moon, which is our unconscious space, our emotional body, our intuition, how our needs are being met and how they're not being met, how do we nourish ourselves and how do we nourish others. And so if there is something deep in your unconscious mind where your needs aren't being met, or you're not being nourished, or perhaps you're not doing that to other people in a way that is more in alignment with your soul's frequency, this is when the triggers start to show up, right? And I often find, for me, it's an offering, even though it's difficult. It's an offering from the sun and the moon, because the sun is and the moon combined, saying, hey, look over there. There's something that you need to like work on, peel back the onion layers, sit with, have compassion, work through this particular thing that you may not have noticed for years to come, right? This is when the full moons really, really do help us with that, of being like, okay, this is the next step on the thing that you need to sort of navigate and work through and peel back in order to integrate and understand yourself. Even if it's difficult, trust me, I've certainly had enough of those myself. But when the dust settles and you come out the other side of it, inherently a blessing. The second thing is, so often when we're doing the inner work, it can be a very mental experience, right? This can be when we're sort of just mulling it over in our heads and we think we've figured it out, we think we've cleared that energy. And so often we need to do like a full holistic cleanup, and that's with our emotional body, our soul, but most importantly with this particular theme is the physical body, because the physical body holds a lot of fear over certain situations where it's had to be in survival mode. And so often we forget that. And so the universe will come along and will provide a situation that's kind of based on a previous trauma or a previous limiting belief. It has it'll have a similar theme to it, but not necessarily the exact same thing again. And this, I find that this only shows up when you're ready to do this. It's not here to ingrain and strengthen those response mechanisms, but help liberate. And so sometimes it can be so frustrating because you're like, I thought I did the work on this. Why is this showing up? The last time this happened to me very loudly was the Pisces full moon, and that I was. It's not that you're not going to be like, this is bullshit. What is this about? It's not like you're going to be all, oh, this is a great situation, but the level of inner peace that comes with it. So basically, a situation will show up that you'll walk through, and you'll realize, oh no, this isn't affecting me in the same way. I'm not getting triggered. I'm not falling into immediate responses. I'm not. It's not reminding me of everything else in a way that I feel it in my body, because your body's walking through this, and then it realizes that it's safe because you've been doing the work, right? And then it sort of dissolves any ties to that energetic frequency because it's no longer connected to you. The dissolution can take a little while after the event, but certainly it is allowing your body to feel safe in that moment. And that again is a wonderful gift, even if we are dealing with a situation that just seems utterly ridiculous. Third and final thing is celebration. A culmination of all the work that you've done, an acknowledgement of that, your needs being met, your nourishment coming in, your intuition on point, your emotional body being in flow, all of these things, this celebratory time, lots of energy, lots of emotional intuition kicking off with this one because it is in Cancer, and just genuinely maybe getting together with friends and family, that sort of thing. It's just after the festive season, at least in terms of the sort of Western Christian modality, and so yeah, there may be some time where you're just really wanting to be around loved ones, right, with this moon. Right, so those are the three piles. As I said, it can also be a celebration and a sort of so something may happen during a full moon that may not be a regular thing in your life. So sort of maybe being valued or being seen or feeling really nourished and really held, or whatever it is where you're like, oh, this has kind of been missing so much in my life, and that the full moon can give you clues about the next 6 months and how that's unfolding. So yes, it can bring up things that are falling away and that are completed, as well as what's being activated for the next part of the cycle. So that's always interesting to look out for. Right, so what's going on with Scorpio rising? Where is this happening? So this is happening in your 9th house. The 9th house is the house of the gods, your perspectives, right? Your morals, your ethics, your philosophies, the big questions, your connections to God, book religion, spirituality, nature, science, whatever matrix it is, bigger than yourself that you know you're a part of, and your questions around that. That can be society, that can be absolutely anything, universe, the whole shebang, and how you map yourself out. And that, how do you see yourself in connection with all of that? So it's all about perspectives. And what you think about them and mulling them over, and it's about learning and teaching. It's often about learning something, mastering something rather than beginning something, and broadening your perspectives in that process and sharing that information, not to change other people's minds, but to share perspectives and broaden perspectives. It's also about going and living somewhere for a longish period of time that is unfamiliar to you. It's often linked into foreign travel, but it can also be, say you live in a city your whole life and then you decide to go live in a countryside. That is a different perspective, right? That is unfamiliar to you. So it's those are the main sort of themes around the ninth house. So we've got this full moon there. We've got this culmination of a 6-month cycle of your understanding of who you are and what your philosophies, your ethics, and your principles are, and really allowing a space of grace to come in. So some of the key themes that came up with the channeled messages. So there's this sense of completion. And this is a completion of your emotional connections to things personally, because that's the Cancer. Cancer is the personal water sign. It's how we understand water on a personal level. And so we've also got a lot of emotions running through us, and not all of them are ones where we're like, oh, I don't know if this is actually how I feel or if this is a response mechanism. So we're kind of making peace with where we're at emotionally. This sense of I am complete, right? I am done with this. This level is done, and I'm whole, and I'm home, and this is it. And then the next stage is the birthing out into the world. So this is an activating of new emotional connections, and in particular our emotional sensitivity. So often when we are expressing ourselves, or when others are, we're engaging with others, everyone involved is navigating layers of social conditioning, parental conditioning, ancestral stuff, past life stuff, your own stuff, that our intuition, right? The moon rules Cancer. Our intuition is the way that I see it, is having to go through a labyrinth of all these layers of experience and energy that get attached to us, and then form our ability to express, because that intuition is coming out through those layers, and I feel like it gets distorted, and a lot of repeat cycles happen because they're engaging with that energy, that your intuition is engaging with that energy linked into those cycles that then can get repeated. And so we can be talking to somebody and have no idea what's gone on in their life, and no idea that the thing that we're about to say is actually going to trigger something within them. Now, whether this happens consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't matter, but this is what I feel like is coming through, is we're going to mature in our level of emotional sensitivity. And so the way that we engage with each other, with ourselves on an emotional level, is just going to have that level of maturity, rather than say kicking off, getting in a rage and doing some destruction, however that looks like. That's going to feel really good in the moment, but this is about long-term thinking. I feel like it's giving us a moment of internal breathing space before we engage, and that can be in a nanosecond. That is just providing a little space to help us transform the energetic cycles, rather than keep repeating them over and over again. And the reason why I say this is, those messages came through and they coincide with the astrology, and these cards that came out. These are the oracle cards. I always pull them before the collective readings. And I'll be doing a separate oracle reading after the event. We've got the womb, we've got birthing a new age, and a high vibrational level helping heal the animal within us that is in survival mode. And so the astrology, which I break down in way more detail in that collective reading, is essentially forming what's called a cradle. The sun and the moon are opposite one another. The sun is sextiling Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is sextiling Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter is sextiling the moon. And so this is forming like a cradle, like a basket. And then Saturn and the moon are trine one another. Jupiter and the sun are trine. So that's forming the structure. So we've got Saturn and Jupiter forming the base of this cradle, like a womb, that we are being rebirthed out of, right? So that's an element of you're complete, you're in the womb, you're in the cradle. This is this is the energy of the full moon, and then the other side of that full moon is the birthing out, the elevation into this new landscape. So that really matched what was going on, especially because Saturn and Jupiter are longer term planets. Saturn is 30 years, Jupiter is about 12, and they are the social planets, the social gas giants. They are the last two planets visible to the naked eye, and they really they call us to act more thinking long term. So it's about things that, do you care about that now? Are you going to care about that tomorrow? Are you going to care about that next week, next month, next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years? And I just feel like like a subtle energy link into that thinking more in the long term is going to just be in our energetic field. That means that we're more mature and more mindful of who we are. And I know, there's a lot of talk about lots of people being overly sensitive and not having the whole cancel culture thing, and I've got my own opinions on that. But there is also a level of tact that we can have with others, where we can phrase things in ways that we can still get our point across, but we don't necessarily have to ruffle feathers in that way. We can then have a more of an open conversation, rather than shutting the door on things and rather blocking energy out. We can have more flow. We're all in this together, guys. So that's the general sort of feel that I'm getting for this full moon. And so if we link that into the ninth house of just being more intuitively and emotionally mature in your understanding of who you are in the world and your perspectives. I said there was a lot of softness and nourishment and grace, as well as strength, that came with this moon, of really allowing that nourishment to feed you and then give you strength. And so this can be more intuitive about perspectives as well, and really able to pick up very easily and understand other people's perspectives and communicate with that, and have a sense of nourishment of sharing perspectives as well. And this can be, for those of you who have been studying or learning something and mastering something, this can be a completion in a part of your journey that you've been doing, as well as just genuinely feeling more satisfied with how you see yourself in the world, and clearing away some sensitivities around that. And this is all trining your Scorpio energy, and so this is all providing a lot of wisdom and depth and confidence, and this sense of abundance in then how you embody yourself, right? The first house is your house. It's how you embody your sun or your moon in your actions and your deeds, depending on if you've got a day or a night chart. So it's the lens in which your sun or your moon operates out in the world, right? It's often how other people see you, because they see your actions and your deeds rather than your internal space. It's your body, it's your appearance, it's your vitality, it's your character, so it's your embodiment of self. And so we've got this very supportive energy coming from the moon of helping realign your sense what home feels like for you as well, because the ninth house, having Cancer in the ninth house, there could be this element of constantly exploring and constantly questioning what home feels like for you, and being able to be at home in different perspectives as well. It goes both ways. So there can be an element of a softening and feeling safe in your own vessel, and a safety and a strength building in your own vessel of your perspectives and who you are in the world. As I said, right, think of Cancer's got the shell as well. There is this element of protection of the soft, vulnerable body, and so there's a real sense of your any triggers or worries around these things, just having a bit more emotional maturity around that, and bringing that in with a sense of strength with the sun in Capricorn. So that's over in the house of the goddess, and this is where we bring our big picture philosophies into our day-to-day and find meaning in our day-to-day. This is your environment, your local community, the things you do on a day-to-day basis, and as well as communication, and this is the lens in which your Mercury's information expresses itself. So Capricorn, there's a level of authority, there's a level of integrity in wanting to express yourself. There's also there can be an element of taking your time, and so we've got this strength of the sun in Capricorn, the earth yin, a collective earth sign, and so ruled by Saturn, and there's this clarity of what it is that you want to express and how you want to be seen and what kind of environment you want to be in, and so that we've got a vision of a deeper understanding of how you express your perspectives, and a leveling up of that. And that's sextiling your Capricorn, your Scorpio energy. And a sextile provides creation energy. It provides a sense of appreciation and value in what it is that you have to say and how do you communicate it, an appreciation of your day to day in your local environment, and what it is and for how you find meaning in your day to day. And that's all being there's an element of playfulness in the way that you're embodying that with planets moving through Capricorn. There's going to be this sort of creative ways of finding new ways of finding love and harmony and appreciation coming up with that one. So because Moon's in her own sign, so she's very, very strong. So the themes of the ninth house are very loud, and so there's a real tapping into perhaps where your needs haven't been met, about being seen in your perspectives or understanding who you are, and not feeling a nourishment in your connection to anything bigger than yourself. And I feel like these are going to get soothed. I'm finding the wisdom in the journey that you've been on. Would you look at that? Interesting combination of cards so far. Right, so we want to look, so the Moon's in her own sign, so she is beholden to no one. No one is influencing her by her sign rulerships, but the Sun is reflecting on the Moon. So we want to see what's going on with the Sun. And the Sun is as I said, they're making, both the Sun and the Moon are making sextiles or trines to Jupiter and Saturn. So I'm going to be so I've talked about what those kind of aspects mean. Remember, it's Venus and Jupiter. They're the benefic planets. They want to provide wisdom, cohesion, creativity, love, connection. And so there's a real supportive energy coming from Jupiter and Saturn in terms of the aspects that the Sun and the Moon are making. But who's governing the Sun? Well, that is Saturn. And Saturn is over in Pisces, again, a fellow water sign. So of the, you're having a grand water trine for you, Scorpio. And words, where have my words gone? So Saturn's over in the sign of Pisces, which is in your fifth house of your creation energy. This is the things that bring you joy, the things that bring you a spring in the step, amusement, fun, games, play, the pleasure principle, and that can apply to any area of your life. It's not just linked into the more romantic liaisons. We get a bit twisted, and it really should be finding pleasure in all the moments. This is about children, both literal children that may be yours, that you may work with, inner child, but things that you birth into the world that is from a creative space. And when I say creative, this is your individual slant on whatever it is that you've amalgamated throughout your life, right? It doesn't just have to be the arts. It can be anything that, where you're figuring things out and you're applying your individual spark to something. So the inner child, creative pursuits, or literal children. It's also about romance and short-term dating. So this is the fun house, right? And Saturn's not deemed to be particularly fun. For those of you who haven't seen the Saturn in Pisces transit series, I really recommend, there's 3 series now. The first one is probably going to have the most information in it, especially in the introductions, because I talk about Saturn in Pisces, Saturn with Neptune, Saturn and Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Pisces traditionally. So the introductions have got a lot of information about this overall themes of this longer term cycle. That the first all 12 signs was for the direct motion when Saturn first ingressed in there, and I would have broken down a lot more detail about what Saturn may feel like in that house. The second series is the retrograde, and the third and final series so far is for the direct motion that will be going on until the end of June. And okay, don't be too far. So they've recently wanted to, rather than me shuffling for jumpers, just randomly cut the deck, which I'm still getting to grips with. So bear with me with that one. Right, so Saturn's over in your fifth house. limitations around finding joy, being able to connect to your creativity, and especially in the first sort of bit of Saturn being in Pisces. But overall, Saturn brings about restrictions, limitations, and shaking of foundations in order to strengthen them, in order for you to figure out what your own authority is, what things really mean to you. You're going to walk your talk, and your responsibility and duty around these things, that may feel like it's a bit more hard work than it is joy. But the end of it is your integrity and your legacy, that Saturn is cultivating over the next, how long has it been now? 2 years roundabout, that we've got left with Saturn. So the fifth house of joy, excuse me, sorry about that, Scorpio. I had a little thing. I get this every time I pretty much do recordings. It's never in person. Right, a little thing in my throat. Right, so the fifth house is influencing how you communicate and what it is that you need from your environment, and this engagement with, which then puts into, so this strengthening of your integrity and your legacy, even if it may not feel like it right now, because as I said, Saturn's still doing Saturn, right? But is the long-term plan is for you to be in your authority around this, and your ability to express that authority. And so Saturn is influencing this sun of making that in alignment, with this with your intuition, Dolphina, and how you see yourself in the world, right? So it's really wanting to bring joy into this from a very sort of Saturnian landscape, that will serve you over the next 30 years. And Jupiter rules Pisces, so we have to go and look to where Jupiter is. So Jupiter's involved by aspect, which is the sextiles and the trines, as well as by the sort of whatever's going on with the ruler of a sign is influencing the signs that it rules. So by energy transfer, Jupiter is also involved as well. So Jupiter's over in your 7th house, of one-to-one relationships, business partners, people that you work with on a one-to-one basis, in work, one-to-one clients, intimate friends, long-term committed romantic relationships, as well as source energy. Jupiter's been there for a little while now. Jupiter's been retrograde for a little while. So all the themes of Jupiter, this expansion, this abundance, this sense of generosity and joviality, this deep sense of knowing and wisdom and just moving through life with this sense of yes, has been restricted, right? Since I think it was beginning of September. And so now we've been on this inner journey, this inner expansion of our vessel by questioning things, questioning our faith, questioning our sense of cohesion and understanding of who we are. Jupiter transits, I find at the end of them, this is when you get way more confidence in the area of your life that Jupiter's just moved through. But Jupiter's going to go direct a couple of days after this moon, just before New Year, just before the Mercury goes direct. That's going to be amazing. If you haven't seen the Mercury retrograde series, I really recommend it. Big energy showing up. By the end of January, all the planets are going to go direct. So we've got this shift from all the retrogrades that have happened over the year to now forward momentum. However, at the time of this moon, we've got Jupiter as this inner space. So yes, you may have found restrictions around these things, or blockages around this, but the retrograde always is for you to bring depth to something, to revisit and go over and bring a deeper understanding of what this all means to you, that's serving you in the long term. As again, Jupiter's a 12-year cycle, so this is impacting the next 12 years of this house for you in terms of the Jupiter transit. So your 7th house of how intimacy, right? And this your connection with the other is then feeding into your creativity and joy and your pleasure principle, right? So Jupiter's providing this inner vessel, this inner wisdom. Jupiter in Taurus is providing us the opportunity to tap into what are our senses saying, not our emotional response, but what are the senses in your body telling you, and really lean into that in order to provide expansion and deeper understanding of what the other means to you, what intimacy means to you. And all of that is feeding into Saturn, and the 5th house of bringing about this sense of alignment of the wisdom that Jupiter is bringing in your 7th house of intimate relationships, into your 5th house of the responsibility and the authority and the commitment of Saturn, to your pleasure principle, to your creation energy, that's then feeding into your day-to-day and the meaning that you get there, and the way that you express yourself and communicate. And that's not just talking, that's absolutely everything. It's then feeding into, hey, who am I and where am I and what am I? And I really like that combination with Jupiter with the 7th house, because we can get, and the 5th as well, so there can be some distortions around pleasure principle, around creativity, around intimate relationships, that has affected how you see yourself in the world and how expansive that is for you, because it can get very limited when we've had certain things happen to us throughout our lives. Now, Jupiter's in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Where's Venus? She's in your sign, Scorpio. Oh, hello. Venus is moving through there the first time without the South Node. And so this is a cleanup. Venus in Scorpio. I love Venus in Scorpio. She kind of gets a bad rep. She's unconventional. She's intense. She wants to get to the truth of things. She's very confident expressing that. In the first house, she's bringing the sense of ease and grace, but through the lens of Scorpio. So it's an act of transformation. Tying up everything from that south node. And bringing a level of capacity of holding that energy, of the unconventional, of breaking against old patterns, and being able to stand firm in your desire to get to the truth, right? And so Venus is influencing your 7th house. So there's an empowerment of Venus in the first, of your embodiment of self, impacting what's going on with this Jupiter in the second, saying these two need to be in alignment. The self and the other need to be in flow. And then all of that is then feeding back into the moon of saying, okay, now what we're building with this is our intuitive responses to these situations, our emotional connections to these situations, and elevating that. Venus is also making a beautiful trine with Neptune. And so this is adding on the otherworldly elevation in the higher perspective, right? Of bringing in a new reality that is then in collaboration with Venus, to bring a sense of connection and harmony to this new expression and deeper wisdom about what really matters to you and how you see yourself in the world, in the universe, and elevating that. Right, that is all the astrology. That's a lot. I think this might be one of the longer videos. I recommend what you check out where your sun and your moon are in your natal chart. These get activated every time you've got a lunation. So the themes of the houses that they're in can often crop up, and you can add that on to this general message that's coming through with the tarot. Okay, we've had the yang day action side of the reading, the extrovert, the go, all the stimulation, all the information. And now we're going to have a little bit of yin, night, rest and digest. I'm going to soften my mind and go consciously quiet. Let the energies move through me. They might want to do some physical movements. They might want to do some voice, light language, and they'll move the cards around. And then they'll put them into the 3 piles at the end. I call you to soften your mind as well while there's this stillness. Let all that information that you just had just digest into your unconscious mind, and don't try and control it. Don't try and overthink it, and then just see what intuitive hits come up. If it's the lead up to the full moon, we feel it, and afterwards we do. So if you're watching this after the event, still can get clues, but just allowing yourself to tap into that yin energy of seeing what comes up. Atimata, itini tini ma toof 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 toof. Oh my goodness! You've got the King and Queen of Pentacles and Cups. That's wild. And 2 tens. Adolfini matofani machani matofini mata. Atuma tufina tuf 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 tuf. Tuf 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 nimitini mato. Domina domina na china matofini na. Ina nina nina.
tu mina nina tu fini ma tu ti fini ma tu fini ma chana achi ma tu ichina ichini ma tu pina ti ma tu mina cha tu mina ti ma achi ma tu achi ma tu mina tina ini ma tu ma ini ma tu mina china ma tu itufa ina funa china ma tu tino fino fa chima tu fa china ichini ma tu ma ichima na tu ma tina chima tu chia fan ni ma tu fina chia na ma nya na mo ma ni ma tu fa chi ni ma o mi na chum o mi na chum o mi na china tu fu no mi na china ma tu inni ma tu mi na china tu chini ma tu ma o ma na o mini tina ma ta la fu ma la china ma tu fa ne ma a chi ma tu fini chani ma tu me ti ma o fina ma tu ma na a che ma ta a fu fa chi ma tu fina chana fu fa ni ma cha a chi ma tu mi na ta tu ma a cha ma tu ma china ma di fu na la chani ma tu fa na da a tu fina o fina patu ma chi ma tu ma achi matumina china matufa echi macha mufi ne minicha mufu nufi mo ochi matufina tu achi mana tumina tino achi mora ni vene tuma ichi ma tumina chamotomo o finita ni macha achi nomina cha o fina pana achi na matumina achina achina matuf tuf uchi matufina chi matuvi lani matufa na naja chamona achi nomina chiani matufa chiani matumini chimini tufa uva Juni machana achi mi tu fani chumana china ma tu fani ma tu ichi mi tu fini pa tu ma cha tu ma ti to fina cha tu facina achi ho fu finiti ni pa ho sfini ne no fana na achi na do fu of ana ne chini ne achina nacho manana achi muna fana achi ni macha nato mati mato fana ne ni chana matofa of fini machana fufa achana nama ashani matomi achi mofi na chano machane me do fana antina matofi fani chopapa ni chopana achi matomi ni echi motu finina nato mana chini macho fa ina chama opa nita ina dandino fino mochatina patito fanata achi matumi natufa achi matama natufa achana tu vinina cinema ina batano faci ma tufi aci fune nella matufa aci matumin aci nemitu hufine matufa na cina matuf atumina aci macina foti mina hina matumi aci metu dove no magiana dovana mi cianima no fino toma domina cina Atomata, atometa, novinacha, tomatinini. Right, Scorpio. Okay, so they have right. I do recommend watching the oracle reading because they did a lot of work with the cards. And the animal card feels like a helping clear away that sort of survival fear mechanism, and rebalance the mammalian body and our intuition, which comes from the vast capacity of us to remember things that we aren't consciously aware of, right? And then have responses are based around that. It's also integrated the crystal skull which says clarity, divine healing, high vibrational energy, to sort of elevate that and bring that together. They were wanting to put a lot of the crystal energy into the Happy Buddha head. They cleared some work around the Temperance card and just feel like they're wanting to bring in this energy. They also focused on the word trust. So however that shows up for you and what that means. Where was the card? They did something with the cards. Which one was it? That was it. They were bringing the sunlight on the Queen of Pentacles card into this blue here on the 10 of Wands. Of just overall, it just in general, it felt like helping ease and clear out a lot of stuck energy, and giving more peace of mind and more just overall peace about what's been going on and where you're headed, and calling on that level of faith and trusting in what's going on. Okay, right, let's crack on. You got a lot of cards here, Scorpio. So we've got the 10 of Wands. We've got the 2 of Wands, the Ace of Cups, Queen of Cups, Queen of Pentacles, and Temperance. So this is the lead up to this moon. Now, 10 of Wands. That's a really big card. It's a very karmic card. It's linked into burden. It's linked into hard work. It's linked into over prioritizing and just of feeling in one particular area, or just a general heaviness, right? Work isn't a bad thing, but it's our perspective of it. It's our perspective of the situation. And this figure is bent over. Their eyes are looking to the ground. They can't even see that there isn't a cloud in the sky. So it's it's the mentality. It's your connection to this card. There's a heaviness here. There's a sense of overwhelm. There's a sense of burden, and not realizing that you're getting towards the finish end. So this is everything that's been going on since that Cancer new moon. So it feels like you've taken on a lot of perspectives potentially. And figuring that out, and figuring out maybe there's many different parts of you that are all in. They're all being tested at the moment. That's causing your perspective of how you see yourself in the universe, in the world, as this. That reminds me, I've noticed one of the sounds that the light language seems to represent is the word, it's the sound oof. That seems to be happening when I'm clearing out some heavy energy. You know, I always like to point out with this card of whenever this card comes up, I'm like, to whoever it is, whatever reading I'm doing, personal or collective, is the strength of character that this card represents is phenomenal. You are carrying those 10 wands all by yourself, and you've gone on a long damn journey. And the beauty of that, the amazement, the awe behind being able to hold this space is because usually it's not just your stuff, it's ancestor stuff, parental stuff, collective stuff, soul life stuff. And I say all this to help everyone get a sense of perspective and be like, oh, this thing I think is so personal isn't. It is. It fundamentally is at the same time, but it also very much isn't.
But yeah, so the 10 of Wands, so this perspective of how you see yourself in the world, and what your, and also your perspectives, your morals, your ethics feeling like a burden, right? So for some of you it might be that there's what's going on in the world just feels so disconnected from what feels like safety to you, and feels like so much hard work. You can't find the joy in the little moments. As I said, you can't even see that there aren't any clouds in the sky, right? And it's those little moments that we need to take in order to recalibrate. Right, so this is the lead up. So the 2 of Wands. So this feels like you're getting the and it's with the Ace of Cups, and it feels like you're getting the lay of the land of this new space, and that's what you've been working on, trying to transmute this energy and shift the mindset. 2 of Wands is like getting the lay of the land from a higher perspective, right? There's an element of frustration because there's not quite moving into that new landscape, but it's the preparation. This is long-term manifestation because preparation is key with this one. And this is there's been a moment of pause. There's been a moment of reflection that is bringing in the Ace of Cups, and this is peace, right? This isn't burden. This is abundance. This is overflow, right? This is a renewal of your emotional body when it comes to understanding who you are in the world and what your perspectives are, and any pain around that there's a real sense of a balance of peace coming in, particularly because we've got the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles showing up. So the queens are very nourishing, they're very yin energy. They cultivate, they strategize, they plan, they observe. And they're without the queens, the kings can't take proper action, right? So it's all the qualities of the queens that the kings then take action on. And we've got the Queen of Cups, and she is, for me, the key word for her is serenity. She's so at peace with her environment. Her foot is turning into the ocean. There are no clouds in the sky, so kind of mimicking that 10 of Wands, but a different mindset. There are no waves on the ocean. When you sit there, your eyes go so wide, you're getting a broader perspective, right? And it kind of makes funny things happen in your head. And she's holding this chalice. There's an element of intuition here, of her being able to see into the future, see that far horizon, and with that still be at peace. So this is, rather than being in the moment of the burden, this is giving a broader perspective of a cultivating of that, of cultivating your intuition, cultivating your emotional body to get it more in alignment with a sense of peace within yourself, rather than the sort of the burden, the frustration, the weight of what a lot of your perspectives may be, and how you share them. And we've got this with the Queen of Pentacles. And again, very nourishing, very good at giving advice, wanting to cultivate abundance, cultivate an abundant sense of how you feel in the 3D world. So a lot of supportive energy with quite an intense card. This is a heavy card, and it's crowned by Temperance. And Temperance is all about alchemy. This is about refining bits and pieces of yourself, getting them in union, in flow, raising their vibration in order to create something new. So you see here the water is in fact, oh, can you see it? There you go. The water is in fact going up into the cup, which kind of for me, it's magic, right? Magic is just science we haven't figured out yet, but it's also doing something different based on this experience, this alchemical experience. So even though it's a difficult card, it's saying you've had a lot of support, you've been taking a lot of time, you've been allowing that time in order to cultivate a new frequency and your understanding of who you are in the world, what your perspectives are. Then for the moon itself, I really like this combination of cards. Don't be scared by the Tower. So we've got the Tower with the 2 of Cups. And when I first saw that combination, I was like, okay, so the Tower is pulling down. So this is the energy downloaded at the moon, right? And that's going to unfold over the next 6 months. See here, all the chaos is happening at the top of the Tower. The bottom foundations are still very strong. We've got the 2 of Cups in reverse. So it feels like this is pulling down this sense of separation, this sense of lack of intimacy, this sense of a lack of union. So this card, for me, this is like the masculine, the feminine, and spirit all in union with one another. This can represent relationships and love with another, but it can also represent a lack of union with self. And any blockages around that, they're kind of like tapping around the heart area and the heart chakra. And if we bring in, the fact that we've got the fifth house of creativity, of love, of passion, of children, all of those things. Jupiter in the seventh house of intimate relationships, also your connection with source, your connection with yourself, with Venus being over in the first, very closely linked into like your how you see yourself in the world. So this moon is pulling down those old structures of lack of union, right? And it's come with the Six of Cups, and the Six of Cups is sixes are very protective energy. This is the biggest house in the tarot, and very interestingly, you know, the Ten of Wands is headed to a house. This card, this is an offering from the past to be able to see the past, and see the abundance that comes from it, right? Rather than the lack of loss of the grief card that comes before it. This is a sense of a calm, of a nourishment coming in, of being able to reflect on the past and not see it with such weight, but be able to smell the roses. So this really feels like an ease, a sense of peace that's coming through with this full moon. And then we've got the King of Cups and the Nine of Cups. So the King of Cups, as I said, the kings act on the queens. The queen has deep insight about the future and this sense of calm and able to tap into her intuition in such a beautiful way. The King of Cups is therefore they're able to hang out on this wild ocean, and there's a what looks like a big sea creature there and a ship. And if this ship doesn't understand what's going on with this sea creature, they may think that they're under attack. So the king's not bothered. It's on like choppy storm waters and is able to still have emotional control. And it's very autonomous in its being, right? There's a sovereign nature to kings. This is you able to take action on the work that you've done, of this peace that's come through. Take action on this new vibrational level, of this creativity, this intuition, this emotional space of just having a sense of strength within you. With the Nine of Cups. Now, this is a far cry from the Ten of Wands if we're linking this into your perspectives. The Nine of Cups is this sense of gratitude, this sense of embodied contentment, emotional contentment, personal emotional contentment. This is wishes coming true, but I'm always wary of saying that. But overall, this is a very positive card of like the way that you see yourself in the world. There's a shift coming in. And then how this energy is manifesting moving forward. We've got the King of Pentacles, the Three of Pentacles, the Four of Wands, and the Ten of Pentacles. So we're starting with a 10, ending with a 10, two queens, two kings, and I think that's everything with the duplicates. So the King of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles. So this is how this is all manifesting moving forward. We've got strength of abundance. We've got sovereignty in your understanding of who you are in the 3D world. Your ability through your perspectives and through your understanding of self, you are able to share and create abundant space for yourself moving forward. So is taking you to the steps towards this sense of feeling abundant in the 3D world. You've got the emotional intuition around that, and then the physicality of it as well. With the Three of Pentacles, heavy on the pentacles on this side. Three of Pentacles is mastery of self, right? You know, I talked about how the ninth house is linked into mastering something that you've been learning. So there could be a process of soul journey that you're on, that you're getting to a point of mastery. Or this could be for some of you who are studying or learning, completing that at the end of the 6 months. But this figure really knows who they are. They know what they think and what they do and what skills that they have, and they just go and do it, right? They're not really affected by what other people are saying or doing. And because of this sort of mastery, this deep knowing of self, it draws towards you vibrations that have other things that can help support what this figure has and build something beautiful and long lasting. So this can be a marrying of your perspectives, all coming together to create a vessel that is providing you with support and beauty. But there's also a real confidence with this card. You know, it is collaboration, but focus on that mastery, because that ninth house, you know, especially because we're dealing with the fifth and the seventh and the first as well, there can be distortions that have happened to you during your lifetime that have affected your ability to see yourself clearly. And I like how we got the Two of Cups in reverse, clearing that out, and then we got collaboration coming the other side. So for some of you, this can be about intimate partners, people that you work with on a one-to-one basis, and being able to share these perspectives and being it's resonating with other people. So, and drawing about collaboration rather than separation. I got it with the Four of Wands, Ten of Pentacles. The Four of Wands represents a milestone. Having put in the hard work, we're now celebrating, and this is pivot points in our lives. But it also is, I link it into the harvest. I link it into collaborating with others, working with others, putting in effort every day for a long period of time, and then reaping the rewards at the end of it and being able to celebrate. So there is this element of work needs to be done, things need to be done, but it's not the Ten of Wands anymore, it's the Four of Wands, which is saying, oh, there's this relief point of that energy where you're now able to whistle while you work. And if we're thinking about perspectives, of those perspectives no longer being a burden but an act of celebration. With the Ten of Pentacles, which is very much long-term legacy. So it's what I kind of talked about, how with Saturn and Jupiter birthing us into the world, that there is this element of what we're bringing down in with this full moon is serving us in the long term. So this is both, we're in the city here, we've got a nuclear family in sort of the mundane colors, and then we've got this older energy with esoterical symbols all over them. So this is the combination of the mundane with the magical, right? And when we do that, we bring this sense of legacy. We're able to do things that help create structures that serve you for the long term, and a sense of feeling stable and solid as well, rather than that burnt out, overworked, overwhelmed energy of the Ten of Wands. Right, let's get some qualifiers for you, some clarification cards for the lovely Scorpio. That was quite a long reading, wasn't it? Ooh, Feeny. Right, let's see what wants to come through for Scorpio. We've got activate, awakening, and enlightenment. What a great card to have for the ninth house, which is all, you know, about those big picture perspectives and how we see ourselves in the world. I don't really need to say very much about that, do I? Let's get another card from the numerology deck to see what wants to come out. Oh, we've got synchronicities and personal growth. So yes, that definitely feels like that's what you've been going through, and cultivating that. And then we've got the synchronicities card, which is interesting for the house of the gods and your perspectives of being able to tap into more synchronicities because something's being activated in the way that you see the world. And the more that when we see synchronicities so much, it's usually because we've taken a particular path that's in co-creation with the universe. So this can be a culmination of certain paths that is then leading to a new, deeper intuition with your understanding of what's right for you, without the fear, without the burden, without the over worry, and then clock what synchronicities show up to give you clues and helpful tips and pointers. Right, okay, Scorpio, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Be good to yourself, Scorpio. Be good to those around you. And most importantly, be well until we meet again. Libra rising. How you doing, Libra? For those of you tapping into the Libra energy and it doesn't fall in your first house, look to the house that it does fall in, and the themes of that house, and apply those themes to the messages that come through. It's as if that Libra energy, with all the connotations of your natal chart, astrological points, celestial bodies, themes of house, have now all moved to the first house. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Right, so this is a reading for the Cancer full moon. I am pulling cards for 3 different piles. The first part is the energy leading up to this moon. This is kind of from the new moon in Cancer that we had back in Cancer season. So kind of the journey that you've been on. What have you been working on? The second part is the energy of the moon itself. I work with 6-month cycles, so even though this is a full moon, this is sort of a completion energy. I see lunations as portals, they're energy downloads, activation codes. So yes, it's completing something, but then it's activating something else. And this is mostly what the second pile is about, of what energy is being downloaded into your vessel that is then going to unfold over the next 6 months. This is based on the astrology of the moon itself, which I break down in way more detail in the collective reading. And so if you want a deeper understanding of what the baseline is for that second pile, obviously the tarot will be specific to the Libra energy, but if you want a deeper understanding of that, do go check it out. I get more esoteric channeled messages come through. I pulled a collective tarot reading. I pulled all these oracle cards before I sat down and did that reading. There will be a separate oracle card reading after I finish this transit, potentially probably after the full moon itself. But they've been using a lot of these cards in each reading, so you might want to go check that oracle reading out when it comes out. But yeah, so the second pile is that sort of energy of all the astrology. And I'll touch on a bit of it and some of the themes that came up in that collective reading. But if you want more depth on it, go check that one out. So the second pile is what energy is being downloaded into your vessel, which will unfold. It could be linked into things around the full moon. It's happening around the full moon itself. If that does come into my head, I will say it out loud, but it's mostly linked into a 6-month cycle. So if you're watching this after the event, you're not missing out on what's showing up in the messages. The third and final pile is how all of this energy is manifesting moving forward. So those are the 3 piles. Regardless of whether Libra is your rising sign or not, Libra and Cancer square one another. You are both cardinal in nature. A square is an aspect of Mars. It can bring about conflict, drama, frustration, winning at all costs, but also motivation, drive, and friction. Without friction, we wouldn't have atoms rubbing up against one another, creating time and space. So it's a high manifestation energy. It's a hard aspect, often involves a bit more challenges. It can be quite loud in its activation, and it is squaring your Libra energy. So that is showing up regardless of whether Libra is your rising sign or not. Now, for Libra risings, this is happening in your 10th house. This is squaring your rising sign. So this is happening on an angular house. Angular houses are 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th. And you have the sun over in your 4th as well. So this is quite a pivotal moon for you Libra risings. Because of it being in an angular house, being in the 10th house, which is life purpose, career, reputation, how the big outside world sees you, bosses as well. And so this is a big culmination in that area of your chart. Now, let's talk about the full moon itself. What's the full moon all about? Well, I see 3 main themes show up for it. The first one is, so sometimes all of these can show up, sometimes none of them. If you've got any other common themes that aren't in the 3 that you've noticed in your journey with your lunations, do put it down in the description box, not in the description box, in the comments box. I'd love to hear from you. The first theme that I see is trigger time. Now, it's very common for police stations, hospitals, schools, collective at large to get a bit rowdy, to be high energy or very drained or just genuinely a bit on edge. And this is because we've got the full light of the sun, which is our vision, our clarity, our animation, our purpose, our conscious mind, pouring over the full space of the moon, which is our unconscious space, our intuition, our emotional body, where our needs being met and not being met. How do we nourish ourselves? How do we nourish others? And so I see it as offerings, right? The triggers that can show up here from the sun and the moon. And I say this having experienced it myself and realizing how difficult it can be if you do get triggered around this time, or for other people get triggered, or situations, and how emotionally heightened that can be because the moon is at her fullest. She's got the full light of the sun on her. She's very powerful. But that light of the sun is saying, hey, look over here. There's something in your unconscious where your needs aren't necessarily being met, or you're not nourishing yourself in a way that serves you. These things can crop up, and it's the sun and the moon saying, you need to look at this. This is something to do inner work around, to hold space for, to sit with, to unravel over the next 6 months. It could be less, it could be, yeah. So when the dust settles after whatever trigger may have happened, particularly because it's a square as well, because it is bringing in Mars, so there can be a lot big sort of energy of conflict or drama showing up with this, as well as manifestation as well, don't get me wrong. And so when the dust settles, this can be a time of really productive reflection that the moon has come along and helped you with. The second theme is, so often when we've done the inner work, it's often in a mental sphere, right? Predominantly. And what we really need is a holistic integration of whatever it is that we've been working on. So that's the emotional body, the soul, and most importantly for this theme, the body, the physical body. So often trauma and fear responses can be held in the body, survival mechanisms. And when we do the mental work and we're like, oh, I've cleared this, I've upgraded my frequency, and then a situation will come along. And it tends to only be when we're not when this isn't being reinforced. Four major arcana. Okay, all right, Libra, what's going on? So what was I saying? Yeah, so it's usually a situation that shows up that it mirrors a previous triggering situation, a previous limiting belief, whatever it is similar to it. And you can get, this happened to me at the Pisces full moon, and there was a part of me that was really enraged, but I also had a lot of inner peace. Like a situation come up and it's not touching you in the same way. So this is a tool provided by the sun and the moon to help your body realize that whatever that is no longer affecting you in the same way, and it helps dissolve whatever's still lingering. Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to mention, I said it in the introduction, but you might not have seen it. Regulars, new viewers, this is a very new thing that's happened to me, is I've channeled energies through my body physically, the physical movements for the last 2.5 years. And I had an activation with the vocal side of it just before the Sagittarius new moon. So I'm still integrating. So the physical movements are like light language. And now I've got vocal light language. So do bear with me with it. I'm still integrating. Sometimes I get words come into my head to translate it. A lot of the time at the moment, I'm not. It doesn't invalidate what's going on. Again, it's like activation codes, clearing codes, healing, all of those sorts of things are going on while the vocals are activated. So right, the second theme is a situation can crop up that mirrors previous situations to allow your physical body to move through it and come out the other side and realize, oh, this isn't touching me, this isn't affecting me. And as I said, you can still be frustrated by what's going on. You can still be like, this isn't cool, this doesn't make any sense. But know that it's a part of a holistic healing. Which can take a little while to work with, to like fully integrate. But again, it's another, if not annoying, tool of a full moon. Now, the third pile is a celebration, a culmination of all the work and effort you've put in. This can be a celebrations, getting together with other people, particularly the sign of Cancer, your heightened intuition, heightened emotional flow, your needs being met, meeting the needs of others, nourishment in every direction. And often with full moons, it can highlight, as I said, things things sorry, my brain goes a bit funny when they're doing things with cards like that, because I'm trying to disconnect and not put any agenda of my own of seeing the cards and being like, oh, that's a cool card. I was trying, so then the words are just like blah 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 is so often with the full moon you'll get clues about what's being released and what's being completed, as well as clues about what the next part of the cycle is. So this can be something that may have been missing from your life, or you wanted more of, and then it comes along and you're like, oh, that feels nice, and then that's part of the next cycle of integration. So yeah, very heightened emotional spaces here with the Cancer full moon. So that's the sort of energy of the full moon. And sort of, I'll talk briefly about the sort of the core things that came through in the collective reading. And it's a sense of I am complete emotionally, right? You're done with all these levels of emotions, right? You're at peace with them. There's a sense of feeling like you are home and you are complete with this. And then the other side of that is sort of birthing and activating new emotional connections. And it was really interesting that this came up. This is a channeled message because
in terms of the astrology, the sun and the moon are opposite one another. We've got Saturn here in Pisces, sextiling the sun. We've got Jupiter here in Taurus, sextiling the moon. So this is forming what's called a cradle. It's like a basket. It's like a womb. Jupiter is trining the sun. Saturn is trining the moon, which is forming the foundational structure to birth us out. So there's this sense of completion of this level of the gestation in the womb, and now we're being birthed out of that cradle, and bringing in new emotional connections. And it's felt like an overall, conscious or unconscious, it doesn't matter, it's being activated, of a sense of maturity around our emotional responses and our intuition with ourselves and with others. So often the way that I see our intuition and the work that we do here in this human vessel is our intuition is coming through a labyrinth of ancestral things that we've took out, and past life energy, soul family clan energy as well, collective energy, parental energy, the things that you've experienced through interacting with other people, and all of your intuition is trying to get through this labyrinth of energetic frequencies, and it comes out a bit distorted, and it can then end up recreating those cycles rather than transforming it. They're just tapping over the heart space. This is activating, because Saturn and Jupiter are like creating the foundations of this cradle. They are longer term cycle planets. Saturn is 30 years, Jupiter is 12, right? They are the social gas giants, the last two planets visible to the naked eye. They want us to think more long term. They're integrating more long term behavior mechanisms. And this can be like a nanosecond of pause before responding, right? So when we're talking to other people, when people are talking to us, they're having to navigate unconsciously the layers that our intuition is trying to come out through that labyrinth. And as I said, from things that we say or do or whatever it is, that there is an element of us recreating cycles rather than transforming them. And I really do feel like we're going to have an upgrade in our sensitivity to how we respond, right? So many things we can kick off about, we might not care about tomorrow, we might not care about next week, in a month, in a year, and it just allows us that moment of pause, even if, as I said, it's a fraction of a second, that is then bringing in a sense of emotional maturity. Right, Libra risings. What's going on with you? So this, as I said, this is your 10th house of your life purpose, right? Your life purpose doesn't have to be your career. Sometimes careers facilitate life purposes, but it is linked into career as well. It's your visibility. It's the highest point in your natal chart of where the sun was at its peak on the day that you were born. This is full visibility. Where are you headed? What are you doing? What's pulling you into the light, right? So full moon in the 10th house, a completion of an understanding of where you're at with your career, where you're at with your life purpose, where are your needs being met or not being met, and really tapping into that in order to then integrate it in the next cycle. A deeper intuitive understanding about where you're headed and therefore how to take action around it. As I said, a recognition of the work that you may have put in your career, and the steps that you've taken towards your life purpose. And a more, as I said, a more intuitive emotional understanding and sensitivity of how you to respond with that maturity that's coming through, that activation of new codes. And this also can be in your work, in your career, having more sensitivity and really strengthening your ability to share that with others in the way that you work, and what that means to you. And it's squaring your ascendant, which means this is bringing it into manifestation. Yes, there may be there could be some disruptive things. Maybe your needs aren't being met in a particular job that is helping you realize, okay,
where do I want to go? What do I actually want to do? What steps can I make to get out of this situation? So that can be a kind of conflict energy that may show up, but overall strengthening of manifestation in where you're headed and what you're doing, and how you're seen and visible to others. So the energy that came through with that collective reading was so soft, so nourishing, but with a lot of strength, because the sun is over in Capricorn, which is the collective earth sign. It is ruled by Saturn, so there's a sense of authority there. There's a sense of commitment and loyalty, of due diligence and putting in the hard work, a sense of integrity and legacy that is feeding, strengthening this full moon. And that's over in your fourth house of your roots, your foundations, your home, the roof over your head, your ancestors, both blood and soul lineage, your parental figures. And so the sun is there, shining visibility on the importance of having commitment to your home life, right? So often we can be out of balance with those two things. And this is when a full moon can show where you are out of balance, which can be really helpful because it can highlight one area of your life over the other, and help you bring that back in to balance. And so the sun being over in the fourth is illuminating how to navigate and bring these two areas of your life into union. That is serving your long-term legacy. And right, so the moon is in her own sign. So the 10th house energy is going to be very powerful for you, Libra risings. And she's not beholden to anybody, because she's in her own realm. But we want to look to the sun, because the sun is also influencing this moon. I've talked about the aspects. Jupiter and Saturn are bisextile and trine. Trines are a sense of elevation, wisdom, expansion, cohesion, a sense of abundance and luck and opportunities, very inspirational, sense of faith and commitment with Jupiter, with the trine. And then the sextile is an aspect of Venus. So these are very soft, easy, free-flowing energies. They're ruled by the benefics. So a sextile brings about creativity, love, appreciation, connection, a sense of value. And so we've got these very harmonious aspects to the sun and the moon by Saturn and Jupiter. But Saturn and Jupiter are also involved as well by rulership, because Saturn rules Capricorn. So we want to look to where Saturn is to see what influence that's having on the sun, and therefore influencing the moon. And Saturn for you is over in your 6th house of work, health and routines. This is the adult in the room time. This is how you work, the lens in which you work through. It's also linked into co-workers. Now, for those of you who've not checked out the Saturn in Pisces series, there's 3. I do recommend them because Saturn, wherever Saturn's going, it's a longer term cycle, and it can bring about difficulties, restrictions, limitations, frustrations, isolation. It's just important just to be aware of what kind of themes may be showing up, as well as integrity, legacy, and commitment. We've got, so the first series they're all in a playlist, so they're really easily accessible. The first series has a lot of information in the introductions, where I talk about Saturn. I talk about Saturn in Pisces, Saturn with Neptune, Saturn in relationship to Jupiter, because Jupiter traditionally rules Pisces. And you might want to check out the All 12 Signs series, just the Libra rising one, because I talk more about the themes of Saturn being in that sign in way more detail. The second series was about the retrograde. If you want to go revisit that and look back in time, that can be a good one too. And then the third and final one is for Saturn going direct, which has been since the 4th of November and will be till the end of June. So that one is still live, still valid, right, and very relevant. But I think I talk more in detail in the first series about the overall themes. So Saturn in your 6 is giving you a strength of authority and commitment and duty and due diligence and responsibility around the way that you work, around how you take care of your health and your routines. Saturn in the 6, I love it. Yes, it's just helping get us be the adult in the room and get a bit mature around these things. So this is influencing your 4th house of your roots and your foundations, right? Making sure that your private life is facilitating a new adult, mature response from how you work and the routines that you have, and taking care of your health. So you're getting a real strength here. I really like this combination to help facilitate and give you strong foundations that then helps activate this new frequency when it comes to your career. Now, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, so we have to go and look to where Jupiter is, because Jupiter is then influencing Saturn, which is then influencing the Sun, which is then influencing the Moon. And Jupiter is in the sign of Taurus, which for you is in your eighth house of the outside world's resources. This can be linked into sort of big chunks of money, commissions, bonuses, loans, mortgages, as well as inheritance, both 3D and cosmic inheritance. It is also connected into the give and take between you and the outside world, the exchange between you and the outside world. Do you give too much? Do you take too much? Do you feel supported by the outside world or left out in the cold? This is also the like time, money, things, energy, intimacy, the exchange of that with you and anything other than you. And this also includes source energy, multi-dimensional energy. It's a very magical house. Edgar Cayce was a very famous psychic, had or stellium in the 8th house, and it was the exchange between him and source and gathering resources. Jupiter's been there for a while. I've done one Jupiter transit series, so if you want to understand the overall themes of that, go check that out. Jupiter has been retrograde. So Jupiter represents wisdom, cohesion, expansion, a sense of knowing, and with that confidence comes a sense of joviality, generosity, abundance, luck and opportunities. Now, Jupiter's been restricted for, been retrograde since the beginning of September. So all of those qualities may have sort of gone and sort of not been as readily available, because planets, when they're retrograde, they do things slightly different to what they used to do. But Jupiter retrograde is questioning things, questions of faith, questions of what these relationship dynamics mean to you and what's the importance of it. And you may have seen a restriction around the generosity of others. And that may have been frustrating, but it's been helping you question what they all mean to you, and like what's at the root of it, and where that confidence has been building in this inner vessel that we're creating. Jupiter in Taurus is also helping us touch in with our physical senses. What are our physics? What is the wisdom of our physical senses trying to tell us, right? So all of that energy, that deepening of wisdom about these themes is influencing what's going on with Saturn. So this inner confidence that is building. Jupiter's going to go direct a couple of days after this moon, so it's kind of stationing around this time, so it's very powerful. And then it's going to go direct. By the end of January, all the planets are direct. We're going to see a real shift of momentum. If you haven't seen the Mercury retrograde series, I talk about that a lot, the Jupiter, because Jupiter is going direct, and then like a day or so after Mercury is. And so there's a real activation around the new year of new beginnings, with everything that we've been learning with all of these retrogrades. So we've got this inner wisdom of the give and exchange, feeding into making sure that these exchanges with you and the outside world aren't affecting your work, aren't affecting your health, aren't affecting your routine, strengthening your foundations and helping you get in alignment with where you're headed and what you're doing, and how is your career being supported, right, with the 8th house. How are you embodying it with Saturn in the 6th, and then strengthening it with the Sun in the 4th. So pretty powerful stuff. Jupiter in Taurus. Who rules Taurus? Well, that's Venus. And Venus is over in the sign of Scorpio, which is in your 2nd house of how you value yourself, right? The resources that you have, the skills and the tools that you have in order to make regular income, and how you manifest is the things that you value. And most importantly, as I said at the beginning, how you value yourself. So Venus in the house of value, she wants you to feel good about yourself. She wants you to feel love about the skills and tools that you have, bring harmony to them all, wanting to facilitate you knowing your true value. She's in the sign of Scorpio the first time she's been through here since the South Node was there, so she's tidying up everything that you've gone over with that South Node. She's helping you feel more strong about speaking your truth around how you value yourself. Venus and Scorpio can be very non-conformist, because there's this intensity and the ability to go into and seek truth out, that may not be facilitating for overall harmony, right? So she has the strength of character to be able to say, this is my truth, this is the deep truth of your value, right, being activated. feeding into the 8th house of the exchange you have with other people, and whether you're supported by the outside world, facilitating a new strength of character, new strength of value, pouring in. She rules you as well, remember, Libra. So this is affecting you at all times. Wherever Venus is, she's impacting what's going on with your, how you embody yourself. So she's giving a great deal of strength. She's trine a Neptune, which is providing connections to a higher frequency in the way that you work and the way that you take care of your health and your routines. But she's affecting Jupiter, making sure, okay, this needs to be in alignment with the truth of the value, the truth of the skills that you have, and being appreciated in the 8th house and having support in the 8th house. That's then feeding into the way that you work and making sure that's in alignment with your true value and the skills and tools that you have that Venus is helping gather and collect together, feeding into Saturn of making sure you implement that and put in the hard work around that, strengthening the foundations that is lifting you off into the 10th house. Love it. Right. I recommend you check out where your sun and your moon are in your natal chart. Look to the themes of the houses that they're in, because these themes tend to crop up for every lunation. If you go into progressed moons, that will have an influence too, but let's keep it simple. So check out where those houses are, check those themes. That will add on an extra personal layer for you to interpret beyond the general reading. Right, we've had the action yang day side of the reading, the extrovert, the go the outward movement, all the information, all the stimulation, and now we're going to have a little bit of yin night rest and digest time. I am going to soften my mind and go consciously quiet. The energies are likely to want to do some physical light language as well as vocal light language, and they'll move the cards around and then put them into the 3 piles, and then I'll bring the tarot into the astrology. I call you to soften your mind as well. You just had loads of information, let that all settle, and then see what intuitive hits come up in the lead up and after the full moon. We're still very much connected to it, so if you're watching this after the event, you're not missing out, and just see what the yin energy is trying to tell you. Dominato fani macina achamatomi achamatomaniciana achamuina mudo finito fana pufanichu inamato minata anima dominatini mitini matu udominadina ma chinamo fini ma chima o fini matumina Ajomena doma tina pafuni mata. Afini machuni matani matuf tuf. Udufini matina. Timatoma tinima. Utimi tufana. Tomatima tufina. Atina mato. Atina matufini. Achufa tumina chana. Atimi tufini. Achoni matofana tina ma ufina chana chamono atumina tomina chana atomina nina fanomane machani matufi lenimani matoma inimina chinama inimatoma yachana matuf achana matufina chatumini matoma Doma, domina, domina, china fana, domina, nina mo, fini, nina, matomana, atina mo, tima, tof, ufini, matofana, chana, ufana, chana, ufana, chinima, ufala, mitoma, atina, manina, witi, minofo, ufini, nani, matoma, nina, matofino, ufina, namonchima. Ofina machina, china, chufina, matufona, mandato fani, atoma, tini, matofini, machinima, ufini, menoma, any matofini, nachimatoma. Okay, Libra, right, so just off the bat, just want to say, you have, oh god, what, I swear there were duplicates. You've got 2 kings, that's the, yeah, and lots of okay, the other, sorry, words, so you got 2 kings, but you've also got the 3 of cups in the 5 of cups and then the 3 of cups at the end, so, and lots of major arcana. Pretty powerful reading off the bat. So This is the energy leading up to the full moon. So from the Cancer new moon that we had in Cancer season, got the Five of Cups, we've got the Hermit crowned by the High Priestess. Very powerful combination. This Five of Cups has come up a fair amount for a lot of the readings, and it's not surprising with the sort of the collective energy of what this moon's trying to do is help us, and what that new moon would have been preparing us for. Of helping be at peace, come to peace with certain emotional responses. And this is grief, right? This is looking at the flow that has gone, the abundance, the harmony, the connection with like-minded people, being celebrated by others, being in flow, that abundance, that celebration, and seeing that it has fallen over, that there is loss here, that there is grief. And this can be any kind of situation. This could be just a overall frustration with your life purpose, with what's going on with your career, or just it might not even be necessarily be actual things happening, but just having this sensation come up and feeling in that grief and working with it, right? So the next two cards really imply that you've been spending time navigating what this means to you. And how that's affecting you, because we got the Hermit and we got the High Priestess. Now, Libra, the Hermit for you is in your 12th house, your hidden house, your house of mysteries, right? This is where depression, anxiety, grief can lie, isolation, loss, as well as the magic of your soul, right? So with this Hermit energy, it's like I'm just thinking about how we had that Mercury retrograde in that sign of helping you reassess in your unconscious mind, in the constructs of who you are, about what this energy means for you, and do you want to hold on to it, and finding wisdom within it, but also being able to transmute it. The Hermit is very independent. It's standing on top of a mountain, so it represents a higher perspective, and it's this covered in grey, which represents wisdom, that it doesn't seek that wisdom in society. It's disconnected from that. It's this inner space, is going inward. You've obviously spent some time contemplating and really refining, who am I and why am I, in relation to this heavy energy, right? And we've got it with the High Priestess as well. And this is very powerful. This is very yin energy. This is the moon's card. She knows she draws things towards her, has a great power within her, there's an element of faith there with the High Priestess, as of being in balance and being in flow, and not worrying about what's happened in the past, not worrying about what might happen in the future, and being very serene in the moment. So whatever's shown up with that Five of Cups, and as I said, that could just feel like discombobulated with the sum total of life, and maybe not all of the things are working together, or there's been a disappointment, a heartbreak, a loss. And as I said, life purpose doesn't just have to be career. It can be career, family, traveling all over the world, having the best garden that you want, any kind of thing. There may have been something that's come up where you've just felt like disconnected from being able to find the flow with that. But you've been using it to really enhance your intuition, because going through that difficult energy, and then with the Hermit, of finding wisdom through that, finding pause, being in a state of isolation, in order to cultivate what it is that you truly feel and truly mean, and then activating the High Priestess, that's kind of saying, it's like, for me, the High Priestess is like your higher self embodied, right? Our higher selves have a more intuitive understanding about what's going on in our lives than we do. I mean, it is a part of us, but it depends how integrated you are. That there's this essence of just the higher self is drawing towards us situations for our souls to grow, and it doesn't always look how we may want it, but it actually serves a longer term cycle. Right, so that was the other thing that I wanted to point out. You've got the High Priestess and the Magician, and quite wild. So this is the energy of the moon itself, very empowering. We've got the King of Wands, we've got the Magician with the Ace of Swords. Now this is, for me, the confidence to be independent and act on your own desires. To connect to your passions, to connect to your creativity, your independence, your fiery spirit nature, and be able to embody that in the way that you are visible, right? In those steps that you're taking in order to bring things together. These are really empowering cards after these are empowering too, but the empowerment of working through a difficult emotion, there's a sense of liberation coming in. They're quite feisty today. It's come with the Magician. The Magician is the sort of the yang outward expression of the High Priestess, right? The Magician is able to utilize the resources around them in order to create and manifest in the world. So if we think about the 10th house of like the performer, the Magician being on stage, being able to manifest things into the world of what your life purpose is all about, what you need from your career, how you want to be seen, of being seen more capable. But if we bring this in with Jupiter, with Venus over in your second house of your skills, of cultivating these, and Jupiter over in the 8th house of other people's resources, right? Of being able to utilize the resources of the outside world in order to manifest what you need, or at least have a higher intuitive understanding around that. And then that pouring into how you work and how you take care of yourself, right? And giving that strong foundations that's influencing where you're headed. So these cards, they take action. And so that's great for the 6th house of really being able to commit, know your own sovereignty, your own divine being, and really commit to yourself in this vessel. Because it's all squaring your Libra energy, which is your embodiment of self. With the Ace of Swords, this is clarity and vision rather than grief, which can swamp us, where we're not able to see that the Two of Cups are behind you, right? So there's a lack of vision here because we're shrouded in black. We're in the depths of it all, and now we've got the Ace of Swords again. Mountains, higher perspective, clarity, vision, knowing, right, of being able to take action around where you're headed and what you're doing, and like clearing out a lot of the stuck energy that may have been blocking you from being able to really understand your visibility and who you are, that will then reflect and bring in relationship dynamics that are in alignment with that. And then how this energy is manifesting moving forward. This reading's wild. We've got the King of Pentacles, we've got the Sun, we've got the Three of Cups. So that Three of Cups that's fallen over at the beginning is now the end card. Right, so the King of Pentacles, great for 10th house energy, right? This is abundance in the 3D world. This is strength and sovereignty and taking actions in order to create that abundance. Authority as well, and being seen, respected. With the Sun, vitality, light, the visibility, the 10th house. This is where the Sun is at its peak, right? There's a sense of joy here as well with the child. There's a sense of freedom, of light, and the sunflowers know where to go in order to get the sunlight, get that divine light, get those codes, get that information. That this is all, I always link it into how you then can when the sun card comes up, of embodying that nature of intuitively knowing where to go and who to speak to and what to do, that is activating that visibility, activating that life purpose, drawing you towards it. And we've got the Three of Cups, as I said, right? Great that we ended on this. So this is bringing back flow, bringing back harmony, bringing about a sense of connection, a sense of abundance, a sense of appreciation. So it's like harmonizing you're reconnecting to your life purpose, to your career, to your visibility, to how you are seen. And that is a very powerful reading for you Libra risings. I love that. Okay, so we've got attraction, manifestation, perfect for the Magician, perfect for the High Priestess, because the High Priestess attracts and draws towards, and then the Magician activates and manifests with that attraction of what's been brought towards you. So that's great for the 10th house of, where are you headed, what you're doing. It's saying that things are being pulled towards you for you to have the intuitive understanding of what to do with them. We've also got the Chariot card. This is Cancer's card. So you've got the Moon and Cancer's card. This is drive, determination, ambition, emotional control. So it's focusing on the ambition, the emotion, it's focusing on all of it actually. And this kind of sums up what I've been talking about, interestingly, with this Cancer full moon, of being in control. of your emotional responses, being a bit more mature, and allowing to creating space that then allows you to put a bit more determination and drive into your ambition, whereas that might have been quite clouded with a lot of other things that are going on. And that's not saying, oh, prioritize work over absolutely everything else, but sometimes we know when we neglect that side of it because we're prioritizing other things. And I just feel I just cut the deck and got abundance. That's hilarious. So big positive energy coming in for you, Libra. We've also got domestic harmony, which is a lovely match to the Capricorn energy that's happening. Pluto's going to be leaving that Capricorn for a bit. It's going to go back in for a tiny amount for a couple of months. I think it's just 2 at the end of the year. So you're moving away from this long Pluto transit as well. And Venus is making an aspect to Pluto. So this is over in your 4th house of bringing harmony into that, so you can then bring abundance into your life purpose. And as I said, your life purpose might be have a home, a happy home with children, whatever it is. It's not just about career. And overall, I'm getting a level of flow and harmony coming in, an ability to tackle lots of different things with clarity. Okay, Libra, I'm going to leave it at that. Be good to yourselves, be good to those around you, and most importantly, be well until we meet again.